of Deputy Clare Daly. Minister.
My department has not made any commitments regarding the development of a maritime museum and seal rehabilitation facility in Balbriggan, and does not have funding available to assist this particular project. While I appreciate the work carried out by the Irish Seal Sanctuary, it should be noted that my responsibilities under the Wildlife Acts relate principally to the conservation of habitats and populations of protected species rather than the rehabilitation of individual animals. It is a matter for the promoters of the project, in consultation with Fingal County Council, to consider the options of developing the project on a more interim basis if they so choose.
Deputy Clare Daly.
Yeah, thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Short and not very sweet, and I'm not really sure why the Minister even agreed to answer it, given that it was sort of a non-answer, to be honest. I mean, the reality is that this is an enormously important potential facility. The opportunity to develop a maritime museum, of which we have none, and also to proactively assist what is a not-for-profit organisation which has done enormously well in terms of rehabilitating seals, protecting seals. Even in your own constituency, I believe some of that activity goes on. But this is an enormously popular pursuit. When the Irish Seal Sanctuary released a seal on New Year's Day, 500 people turned up for the ceremony. These people, I believe yourself, turned out in Balbriggan to celebrate the opening of a pop-up museum there for one day. If it can be done for one day and 1,000 people can turn out for one day, well then surely that supports the idea that this can be maintained on a more long-term basis. I think it is an area of ecotourism. There are no fisheries museums. It's an important educational facility. You're saying you don't have to do anything, but surely the question back to you is, should you not be developing this as something which doesn't exist in any other part of Ireland and could be really developed for tourism and for employment purposes?
Minister.
Deputy Daly, I don't dispute what you're saying of the merits of this project whatsoever, but my department has no role in providing funding for this type of project. Other departments may have, and I noticed the question was changed from another department. You had it directed as another department, whereas we do have in my department a responsibility for the protection of seals. We don't have a responsibility for their rehabilitation as such, or providing a museum for them. But certainly, I think I was in Balbriggan. I was asked to go there by a former deputy in this House, Deputy Sergeant, and I went out, and I must say that there was a big buy-in from the local people for the pop-up museum on that occasion. I think it's a very good idea, and I think there is a real project there for the future if the council, together with the, I suppose, appropriate statutory authority that may have funding for this type of project, would get together, and maybe there could be other sources of funding as well as local funding. But I don't dispute whatsoever the merit of what you're proposing here. But what I'm saying is that my department, we neither have the resources or we do have the responsibility either.
Thank you, Minister.
You see, we have a problem here then, because I mean, if you're talking about the appropriate statutory authority, it's not you, it's not the department that I originally tabled the question for, and yet everybody thinks that it's a very good idea. Well then surely, as the government and the authorities in power, ye have the answer to that. Who are the correct authorities to go to? Because if the desire is there to see this, which I think it should be, because if you're protecting seals, well then rehabilitating them is part of that project. It's an important environmental issue, but it's a critically important job creation project as well, in the sense of developing tourism and so on. So if it's not you and you think it's a good idea, which government department is responsible, so that we could match them up with Fingal County Council, with the volunteers in the Seal Sanctuary? Because the other side of the equation is that government monies have been given to private operators, the likes of Tato Park and other operators in Dingle, around the issues of seals and maritime activity. But they are more commercial outlets. They're not the type of animal welfare facility that the Irish Seal Sanctuary provides and is needed into the future if we are to preserve the species, which is your department's job.
Thank you, Deputy. Minister, final reply.
Just my responsibility is to designate certain special areas of conservation to protect seals, which I do. And as a result, they are protected because of that, where seals typically, I suppose, live and where they habitate. But I do not have a responsibility for the rehabilitation of seals. So I would suggest that the council probably may be the appropriate people that would promote this project and develop it together with the local organisations, local people, and any assistance that I certainly can give Deputy Daly, and I mean this sincerely as someone who has been involved in promoting and creating a number of projects myself in different areas in this, I will certainly give to you, and we can talk about it afterwards, and if there's any direction I can give you, I certainly will, because I know you're very committed and sincere about this project.
Thank you, Minister.